we'll film a bunch of stuff, we'll get content, you know, for artists, for company, for whatever it is that we're doing, and then it comes down to the editing. What are some good, you know, tips that you would say editors should kind of keep in mind when editing, either in like an independent situation or in like a big collaborative situation? Like, what makes a good editor on a project?
Music.
Music?
Yeah, because film, you know, the cinematic arts. So I make sure I include everything, including YouTube.
Yeah.
They operate in visual space and time. So you're basically using images. It's like visual music, right? So there's a book out there called Visual Storytelling by Bruce Block. I know when I read that book, my editing game
stepped up.
Totally changed.
Wow.
Because I started thinking of the visual components like how I thought of musical components. So there's like, you know, there's scales because different shapes. You know, when you're a painter, you're basically doing that same thing. You're like you have a deep understanding of shapes and tones and color and composition and placement. And so when you're doing that, you've got to think of it like it's music because it's like a painting with music because it's music video.
Yeah,
that's why music video is such an art form in and of itself.
Right.
Is because it's straight up music and the visuals don't have to be tied down to a definite narrative like beginning, middle,
exactly, which I think is some of the great music videos I've ever seen. Almost like some of them might not even had anything to do with what the song was like saying. It was just like a visual piece, and it's like, how did that just work? Like, because it's like visual, it's like whatever they're throwing at you, but the music's like the underlying thing that like is driving the video. You know?
Yeah, I think of like you know, we'll take the classic Single Ladies, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, why is that popping? When I think of a music video, why does that one pop into my head?
Yeah.
Because they did some basic, they played some basic dynamics.
Yeah.
It was really bright.
Yeah.
And then it was dark.
Yeah.
It was bright. And then it was dark.
Yeah.
Then they had like a nice little composition of three, right? They have like the three composition, right? Now they're also like moving. Like the movements are actual, like dance is also like, it's like physical music, right? Because it's very rhythmic, very controlled. It's very like, you know, you see that in commercials even. I noticed that when I really got into that when I worked at the TV station and we were just pumping out commercials all the time. Yeah. And we only had 30 seconds to tell a story.
Oh, yeah.
Or 15 seconds.
Which is what a lot of people now on social media are dealing with, you know, like whether it's an artist that's getting a song out or, you know, someone who's just promoting something. It's literally like, do not make this Instagram reel more than 30 seconds. Just off the attention span, because people are not even going to stay tuned that long.
Yeah, exactly.
So keep it tight, keep it short, get to the point.
Right, exactly. Because there's only
make it interesting.
No, there's only so much space. You know, like people because the medium is locked down in time. Well, people only have so many years to watch content. They can't watch it all, right?
Right.
So so what I realized is that commercials are musical theater. Right? The way that people need to move in commercials, the way that the images need to move, the way that they deliver lines. Yeah. You know, you can't have like a, you know, Stella Adler type performance in a commercial. Yeah. Unless you're making fun of it and also like cutting it down. Yeah. You know, even when Saturday Night Live makes fun of a commercial, right? They have to roll it out to 3 minutes to really give it the breathing room. Right. Right. But every commercial, if you start looking at commercials and go like, oh, how's that different than a music video or a musical, right? Really, because it's just the timing has to be precise. Perfect, right? So that's, I would say, is the number one thing you have to have in editing. Yeah, is just like that's why now you can have all these jump cuts, and old time editors were like, you can't do a jump cut. I was like, yeah, but why are people willing to watch it? Yeah, it's because, you know, that it's because one, the image is not like going from here. It's not too jerky, but they're listening to the rhythm of the person's voice, right? And it's actually fixing the rhythm of the person's voice,
right?
So that you're not getting and
you're not getting lost in it. Yeah,
you're not, and then what? No, you're getting them speaking in a way that sounds very fluid.
Yeah,
and and interesting.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it's taking out all the little breaths that you don't need to hear.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. So that's why. But you can also like go overboard if you jump cutting every word.
Yeah.
It's like,
crazy.
What is this? It's like one of those little hostage notes you get where the letters are all cut out, like it's
which is cool to do in like little pieces, but not like a whole,
exactly
30 seconds.
You can read a whole novel.
It's like
made out of those
disclaimers. Like if you have epilepsy or whatever, you probably should not be watching this.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Sort of,
so that's the one thing is, and then the second thing is the art of montage. Right. You're building meaning. You got to think of these as like it's an alphabet. There's a cinematic language.
Yeah.
And you have to say that they're like, this was the Soviets, when they discovered filmmaking, they discovered that it was an amazing tool to drive narratives and push propaganda. Of
course.
So they took a very scientific approach and they started doing all these experiments. And I think it was Kulikov. No, what's that? I always get these Russian names wrong.
Yeah.
Kulishkov.
Yeah.
He did this one where he took an image of a man, just an old man, just staring into the camera, right? And then he intercut with three different images. Depending on where the story is told, it's the images change up, but it's usually a bowl of soup. So it was his face and then a bowl of soup. Then it was his face. The second edit was his face and some children. And then his face in like a graveyard or something. So then they asked, what do you think the guy is thinking? And people would say, well, if it was a bowl of soup, he must be hungry. Whereas the children, he's watching the children. He's happy, right? Well, you just told me he was hungry, right? So the other thing was, now he's looking at a grave. Oh, he's sad. He's missing somebody who died. No, he's not. He's just
thinking about him dying.
He's like looking into the camera.
Yeah,
like he's like literally
true,
all he cares about. Right. So that's what I realized is really does all come down to the footage. When they say everything is deceptive, and when they go, oh, that was deceptively edited, it's like, you could say that about every single edit out there
ever made, right?
Because every edit, like I said, even if you're saying like picking the in and the out, that's all you're doing is one cut. You are making a narrative choice as to what's the beginning,
absolutely,
what's the middle, what's the end. What is the message you're trying to send?
Yeah,
because just like with the Soviet experiment, what two little pieces of information are you putting together so that the audience will draw their own conclusions?
Right.
So that's the art of editing, montage. Now, again, what makes it really go good is if it's musical. You can have a good musical edit, and it could just be like, it was cool.
Yeah.
But when you start putting that montage in there, right, it's like when you have a beautiful melody, but now you have an incredible like lyric in there as well, that now is making plain the story.
Right.